All news, all day. News Radio 1080 KRLD.
A company's offer this week to equip every law enforcement officer in the country with a body camera says it's free of charge for a year. Axon is making the offer. Used to be Taser International. Even as many law enforcement agencies are still talking about the expense and the efficiency of body cams. Alex Del Carmen's executive director of the School of Criminology at Tarleton State University.
You know, Mitch, I think that if you look back at the role of body cams, I mean, obviously it's a great idea that this company, you know, and on the surface is just a wonderful and a very generous gesture on their part to give away body cams for a whole year. On the other hand, what worries me is, and everyone that is in the business knows this, once these body cams are in the possession of law enforcement for a year, particularly those agencies that cannot afford one, that are likely going to take advantage of this, what's going to happen to them once the bill begins to come after a year from now, in terms of software development, software updates, and the body cams themselves? And so there is a hook behind this that I'm sure it's after a year, people are going to have to start paying money for it.
What are you seeing in terms of how police departments and other law enforcement agencies are handling it? Because, as you said, it requires a lot of data storage. It often means additional personnel just to review and store and handle the information. Has it been a good thing or a bad thing so far?
You know, I think generally it's been a really good thing, but it depends on which law enforcement agency you ask. I mean, some agencies will tell you that it's a nightmare in terms of data, software storage, software upgrades, compatibility with different systems that they have in their vehicles and also at their police stations. And so in terms of the technology aspect of it, it's complicated. But in terms of the utility, I mean, no one questions the fact that body cams have a great role in our society today, and that putting it in the context of being able to tell some story, not the entire story, but some story. Better to have them than not to have them.
So really, for police departments that are still considering and other law enforcement agencies, it really is something to look at. But how do they handle the money angle of it? I mean, they get this year free, for example, but as you said, it's expensive.
Right. So most of law enforcement in the United States is rural, and most of law enforcement in the United States do not have the very plush budgets that big city law enforcement entities have. As a result of that, what's going to happen is they're going to have to make a decision, and that decision is going to be, do I take them up on the offer to do it for 1 year while contemplating the very possible reality that in a year from now I'm going to have to take these away from the police officers that have already used it for a year because I won't be able to afford them? Or can I do this in increments and be able to at some point sustain the software and the actual equipment on an ongoing basis?
Alex Del Carmen from Tarleton State University. Axon's offer comes in response to what the company calls an increasingly challenging environment for police officers.